I'm very excited to have Sam and Chris here with me. Are they both in screen? Yes, excellent. They are phenomenal practitioners. The camera is going to largely be on them while I am going to be the audio. They're going to be the ones that will be a reference for if you get stuck somewhere in the practice and want to see what's happening. You can look at the screen. I'm going to have the video spotlit on them, and they'll show you whatever it is that I'm asking you to do, unless I'm yelling at them that they're doing it wrong, in which case don't pay attention to them yet. They're about to do the thing that I want you to do. Make sense? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's see, I want to go over just to reiterate a few safety things, primarily being that if there's anything that's around you that could be an obstacle as you're coming to the ground, please make sure that that is not in your landing area. This could be the corner of a wall, or this could be your water bottle or anything on the ground. So just make sure that your area is safe and clean around you. This is a classroom where everyone is working in groups of 2 as I look around. And so without spotters, I want us to commit to being very conservative with what variations we take. I'm going to offer a number of them that are not appropriate for most of us. So don't take them just because I say them. I'm going to talk about a position. We're going to do that position. I'm going to give variations sometimes in those positions. And please just stick with the basic format unless you feel very calibrated with the person that you're working with. Not like, oh, I've done this before, so I'm good. It's like, have we done this before, and have we done it consistently? And is this something that's safe to do right now without a spotter? So go through that evaluation process throughout the class over and over again. And if you feel that your partner is asking you to do something that doesn't feel right to you in that moment, just say, hey, let's do that later. Let's do that with a spot. Let's pick that up next week. Or I want to get more clarity on it before we try that. So let's ask Lux, and then we can try it at some point in the future, kind of shit. So whatever stories you need to tell each other to get through that so that you can not get injured in this. It is so important that we do not fill hospitals in this moment. So please don't get injured, right? The way that this class is going to run is for those of you that have been here, you know it, but for the couple of new people or the few new people, what I'm going to do is for the next better part of an hour, I'm just going to talk, and I'm going to say a bunch of different poses and transitions. They're going to be very specific. Sometimes I'm going to say something and you're going to be like, did he mean this? Chances are, no, I didn't. I meant exactly what I said. And if I said it wrong, Sam's going to tell me that I said it wrong. And before y'all even get to think that it was actually the other thing, Sam's going to be like, no, what you meant is this. I've done this for years. You said it wrong. And so generally speaking, if I say it, that is what I mean. And it's sometimes going to be like, well, yeah, that's a weird way to get there. And that is exactly what I'm desiring, is for you to use that weird way to get there. At the end of that, we're going to take questions on any of the techniques used for any of those things that, that you did not see demos for. So just keep a little mental note if you are getting through something early on and you're like, oh, front plank to reverse shoulder stand to front plank, I missed that. So like, hey, let's talk about those rotations in the beginning when we get to ask questions later, and just kind of talk about it with each other so that you can remind each other to ask those questions later. Sound good? All right. And then after we go through that stuff, we have a fun little, very muscly exercise that will require some finite balance for us to play with in the latter part of class. Everyone warmed up and ready? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off in a front plank. And that front plank is going to go through a range of motion. I think I can see everyone pretty well, so I think cameras are looking good. I'm going to turn the camera over onto Chris and Sam. For those of you that don't know what a front plank with a range of motion looks like. All right. So just go through that range of motion. You can also go through some side star ranges of motion here. when you come into your side star, you can bring a foot to the top, to the bottom shoulder bases and get a little bit more rotation out of your leg. So trying to get a little bit more internal rotation there. You can help gain a little bit more external rotation in the opposite direction. You can hook the leg to get that if you get underneath the leg there. And you can use the leg for a little bit of hook and help with the rotation. So go back and forth on either side there. Excellent. From front plank, we're going to come to shoulder stand. Excellent. In our shoulder stand here, let's find a little bit of range of motion in the base of the arms. So just a little bit of rotation in one direction, a little bit of rotation in the other direction. And then let's come back to our front plank. From front plank, we're going to go to reverse shoulder stand, back to front plank. So flyers are going to turn one shoulder and then come to a reverse shoulder stand, and then let that rotation go all the way back to your front plank. And then let's go in the opposite direction. We're going to go from front plank to reverse shoulder stand to front plank, second direction. Not bad, not bad, not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I'm actually so dissatisfied with it that I'm going to ask you to do those again. The thing that I would like to see different this time is that when you're going into your front plank, I want the hips to be forward. So no piking. I don't want to see any pike in the hips. I want the hips to be the first thing that lands. I don't want the feet to come down first. As you're making the rotation flyers, you're going to keep the feet extending toward the ceiling and bring the hips down even as the feet are going up. Much better. Even if you don't make it to land in your front plank, it still looks so much better. Do that in both directions. And then we're going to go front plank, shoulder stand. And in this shoulder stand, what I'm going to ask is that flyers bring one arm off the base's arm and bring it all the way up to their hip. And then most of us, what I want you to do is I want you to reattach that arm and then do it on the second side. For those of you that are very calibrated with each other and have practiced this before, I want you to take one arm, the second arm off as you're bringing the first arm back down. And so both arms are going to cross each other when they're parallel to the ground, but one should be moving all the way to the hip while the other is moving all the way to the base's arm in synchronicity. And at the end of that, you're going to rotate to back plank. So do that for a moment or two, and then you can rotate to back plank. Looking really nice. From back plank, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate to shoulder stand and then to back plank. Nice work, y'all. Nice work. And do that in both directions. I think this is good enough. You're not going to have to do it twice. Looking strong. Nice work. Great. At the end of that, hey, Erica, since you're down, will you tilt your camera up a little bit? I don't need to see that much of the floor. I might need to see a little more of the floor than that. I want to still see a little bit. Yeah. That looks pretty good. Yes. All right, from there, let's go into a reverse shoulder stand. And in our reverse shoulder stand, flyers, I want you to bring your toes to touch your base's nose and then pike back up. So pike down, pike up. As much as possible, we're going to try to not let the hips go back. We're going to try to keep the spine stacked. Flyers, you might have to push a little bit into your own hands to take pressure out of your base's wrists when you do this. Bases communicate that if you need it. Excellent. And then let's rotate that to a front plank. Nice, John and Tamara. It's a good save. In front plank, we'll take a hand-to-hand grip. John, Layla, front plank. With that hand-to-hand grip, we're going to rotate up to star and back to a front plank. And do this about 300,000 times. Maybe 250,000 times. I don't want to spend all class on it. So there are a number of ways to do this. Essentially, think about it as you can step in front of your flyer, behind your flyer. You can do it with an internally rotated foot or an externally rotated foot, and you can step to either hip. And through that, you got a lot of math on different ways that you can do this transition. So a corkscrew, or a boomerang, or a piston, or a meteor, or 300,000 other things that you can do. Oh, sorry, only 250,000 today. That's a meteor.
I know. I rejected your idea.
Such a fun one. I love that one. Nice. Yes, the Dutchie's a great one. Y'all got some great vocabulary. And just because you're muted doesn't mean that you don't have to speak nice to each other, so make sure that we're speaking nicely if we're asking for modifications from each other. Nice leg work there, Cassie. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, let's meet in a star. In star, we're going to go free. I encourage people in star that are going free to really bring the feet forward so that the neck is much closer to the leg line of the base, not the toes of the base. And I encourage bases to get more steep with their ankles. And this generally will make it so that flyers don't feel as much strain on their neck if they're using a little bit of pressure in the back of the head, the front of the shins, and the base. Also encourage you to continue using your hands if that is what is appropriate for y'all's. But in that position, what we're going to do is we're going to bring our legs together. And if we can, we're going to bring our arms up to our hips. And with our arms at our hips and our legs together, unless you don't have ceiling height for it. No one's judging Cassie. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bring our legs to a tuck. Our knees touch and our ankles touch in a tuck. And then from a tuck, we go to a pike. Try to keep those knees and ankles together in your pike. I know it's hard. And from that pike, we're gonna go to a straddle. Straddles do not have pikes in them, so that's gonna be an open straddle. And then from straddle, that goes back to straight. Once again, that is a tuck, pike, straddle, straight, tuck, pike, straddle, straight. Nice, Athena. Nice, Rochelle. Very nice. Good exit. Kayvon, I'm liking your footwork. Excellent. From there, let's find our way into a tuck. Try to keep our knees together. And then just extend one leg at the knee, not at the hip. So keep your knees together, just extend one leg. And now switch, do it to the other one. Bend one, extend the other. And switch back and forth, kick switch, kick switch, kick switch. And then from there, we're gonna shift to a foot to hand. In your foot to hand, I'm gonna ask most people to turn 90 degrees. That way I can see it from the profile, which will be more informative. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I can't tell what your heads are doing, so if you want to make funky faces, flyers, it's fine. Most of your heads are cut off. From there, we're going to extend and bend, extend and bend, extend and bend. And you can do this both arms at the same time, or you can do this one arm at a time as a stair stepper. Stair steppers are a really valuable exercise to get some mastery of so that flyers know how to shift weight into limbs that are not moving and how to let limbs that are moving not be weight bearing. From there, we're going to come to an extended foot to hand, and flyers are going to come to a tuck, or to a squat rather. And in that squat, Chris, Sam, will you turn 90 back? You're going to shift to one side, flyers, and extend the opposite leg. Bases, you can bring a foot up, and flyers, you can hold onto that foot for stability. But the opposite leg, the one that's not balanced on, should go all the way straight. Then that comes back into your squat. Shift over to the second side and extend the first leg. Shift that back in. You can try that once or twice on each side. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And then I know most people are going to have to rest their hands for a moment, but the last thing we're going to do in our foot to hand right now is that we're going to do pistons. Pistons are really difficult. The weight stays in both arms at the same time, and you're going to constantly be bending and extending both of them. So one bends, the opposite extends, one extends, the opposite bends. And there should be constant tension and pressure in both arms at the same time. This one is just a big burner for the arms and the legs. From there, we're going to, it's difficult to get the timing right. It is difficult to get that arm bending before the other one is all the way extended. But we'll stand in our foot to hand. We're going to bring our arms behind our back, flyers. And then we're going to bring our shoulders to the base's feet. Folding forward, arms behind your back, Cassie. I know you can do it. And we'll come back into our star. Ideally free, but feel free to use hands if you need. Excellent. Oh, you all right, Colin? Thumbs up, you all right? Okay. Keep the shoulders up, it looked good. And then see if your bum hit the ground too thuddy. All right, from star, we take a hand-to-hand grip. And in that hand-to-hand grip, what we're gonna do is step to a reverse front plank. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And then we're gonna reverse that. We're gonna go back up to star. Flyers, try to keep your legs together. Lead with the heels. Find a bit of a back bend. And extend up into star. Bases, try to make it so that your flyer's arms don't go behind their ribs. Bases, you may have to bend your elbows a bit to get your arms, to your flyer's arms stronger. Nice work, Eric and Kelly. You picked that up right away. From there, we're gonna do it again, but this time, if you want, you can float it through a hand-to-hand, and that can be either with the flyer's arms extended or a baby hand with the flyer's arms bent. So you can either step, press, float, however you desire, back to your reverse front plank. If you're like, I'm not positive, stepping is your answer. I'm gonna give y'all an opportunity to do that in reverse also. So go back up to star. You can press this through a hand-to-hand or a baby hand-to-hand. Or you can step it. Up to you. I'm seeing people take every variation. I like it. But point your toes, Melissa. And then from there, we're gonna go back one more time to our reverse front plank. Again, you can step it, or you can press it, or you can float it, whatever you can do safely. And then from there, we're going to rotate to a reverse star. Yes, I am. In reverse star, we're going to play with our monolimb reverse star. So typically, the monolimb reverse star is going to be that we bring both arms to one leg, and then we release the inside arm, bring it up to our hip, and then bring that back to the leg, and then release the outside arm, bring that up to the hip, and back to the leg. And you're going to do that on both sides. There are a lot of variations that we can take from here, though. So if you want to hold on to your base's opposite leg, at the knee, at the foot, at the ankle. If you would like to play with your free reverse star, or I know a few of us are playing with a free monolimb reverse star, this is your opportunity to play with that, but please make sure that you are well aware of your surroundings and that that is a safe option to take and something that you feel calibrated with your partner to do if you're going to do a free monolimb reverse star, because that shit's hard. Just staying underneath, because sometimes bases get crooked. Spend another minute here, so take whatever variations you need. For those of you that are playing with your, and still really just getting familiar with this, I would love to see the pipes come out of the hips. See if we can do this with our legs extending. It's a bit scarier, and so if you don't want to deal with that level of fear right now, I totally understand and encourage you to not. But if you feel like you can safely get your hips extending, I would love to see the pikes come out of those straddles.
Too deep, too deep.
Erica, your shift is too much. You need to shift a little bit less. You're working too hard, Erica. And Kelly, I'm wondering if you need to shift back a little bit towards your back. You look like you might be a little bit front-centric. Yeah, yeah. And I was just going to give you a compliment, Layla. That was looking good. But I do like that when you stumbled, you went right into your couch. Nice, Danielle and Jay. Great. Woo! Good saves. Nice work, Kayvon and Erica, on that save. All right, from there, you two ready? Mm-hmm. We're going to go from reverse star to a reverse foot to hand. You can do this in a forward bend or in a back bend, or for those of you that know it, you can do this in the scenic route. Erica, stick your head through the legs so that we don't snap your neck off yet. You know, my first acrobatic partner is a genius. One of the greatest lessons he taught me, or we continued to explore together, was anything worth doing is worth doing backwards. So go back right where you came from. From reverse foot to hand to reverse star. For those of you that don't want to do that one in the back bend, just do it in the forward bend. And then from there, we're going to play with transitions between reverse star and shoulder stand. And I want us to play with it from the standpoint of 4 monolimb balances. So you're going to monolimb balance and then squat on one side to 1 foot and 1 arm balance. And then you're going to shift all of the weight into the 1 arm. Then you're going to take a regular shoulder stand where both arms are connected. You'll shift to the second shoulder for the monolimb and bring a foot into that shoulder and do monolimb reverse star on your second side for the extension. And I'm going to let you try that 2 or 3 times. So for some of us, that means once. And for some of us, you'll have enough time to do it 2 or 3 times, and you can do this maybe once in one direction and then go back, or you can continue to cycle in the same direction. But looking for those 4 monolimb balances.
I need to push it more so I have more less spots. Sure.
Yep. Giving enough time for one more cycle for those of you that are in it. There you go. Callan, just a little bit more back. Looks a little bit too forward balanced. A little bit more back. Nice, Moshe Rochelle. Moshe, it's so tempting to flex your foot, but actually extend your ankle and point the toes a little bit. Yep. Excellent. We'll meet in a reverse star. Danielle, please don't pee on the floor. Use a toilet. From reverse star, we're going to go croc, side one. From croc side one, we're going to go through a bicep stand, croc side two. Nice, Athena. Everything I was going to complain about your first side croc, you fixed on your second side croc. From there, we're going to go back to bicep stand, and we're going to come through the center to a reverse back plank on hands. Nice, 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 nice. Excellent. From reverse back plank on hands, let's rotate it to a back plank. Yep. We'll rotate that back to a reverse back plank on hands. And we'll take that back to biceps in feet.
The same direction or
Yeah. Excellent, excellent, excellent. From there, we're going to, let's stand on hamstrings. That's mostly for Sam to rest for a moment while the rest of y'all catch up.
Thanks, Lex.
And then Ben and Cassie turn 180 degrees, or at least Cassie. Ben, you're fine. Excellent, 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 excellent. All right, we're standing on hamstrings. Now, standing on those hamstrings, let's take a hand-to-hand grip. With that hand-to-hand grip, let's come to a tuck sit. No one decided to re-grip. From there, let's go baby hand-to-hand to back plank. Don't worry, everyone just did the same thing. So you're all in the same boat. Back plank, we may as well just do a couple fireballs in each direction. So let's go fireball overhead first and then fireball underhand second. 2 or 3 in each direction. For those of you that need instruction, fireball is that we go from back plank to baby hand-to-hand to tuck sit to back plank. And then you'll do that in opposite where you go from back plank to tuck sit to baby hand-to-hand to back plank. Nice thing is that this is the end of that routine. We're going to rest here in a moment and you get to ask questions. After your last one, let's meet in a back plank and do a walk over the base's head, or you can simply just come to the ground to the flyer's feet. Whatever you have room for, whatever you desire to do. Oh, nice. This is amazing.
The reverse star to shoulder stand via monolimb transitions.
Okay, cool. Anything else? Yeah, Callan Hayden.
I have a question for, now my brain's a little bit, from reverse plank going into the baby hand-to-hand, is there a way, would help the flyer get their hips forward? Because I noticed I was going into a pike and then I was screwed.
Okay, yeah, we can take a look at that.
Okay, cool.
Anything else?
Melissa.
All right, Bernard, Melissa.
Total brain fart on bicep stand to back plank on hands.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Cool. All right, anything else? Cool. By the way, this is what y'all look like. Pretty great. All right, so let's take a look at a few of these things. As far as the model imbalances that are moving between the reverse stars and the shoulder stands, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it so that when we're moving onto a model imbalance, that we're lifting up into it and not getting to a place where we're trying to side bend to make these transitions. And so that would be the number one thing is to not think, I'm taking this hand away, or I'm taking this shoulder to hand connection away, or the shoulder to foot connection away, but instead to really just be patient, wait for a flyer to make it so that one of the hand or one of the feet is completely not needed because they've shifted all the weight onto the other, and then make your movement. And so a lot of it might just be order of operations. The way that I typically train this is either in a shoulder stand or in a reverse star, where you're just shifting from one to the other, not going up and down, but just shifting laterally, arm to arm, leg to leg. Once you do that, then you can start to do it with a little bit of range of motion. So if I have the model imbalance in the shoulder stand, I can find a little bit of rotation, maybe a little bit of bend. Same thing on the other side. And then in the monolimb reverse stars is I'm going to bend a knee and extend a leg, bend a knee and extend a leg. And then those are going to be all of the foundational pieces that will make it so that the transitions are a bit more fluid. And so that would be the part that I focus on. Look good? Sound good, pork chop? All right. So I'm going to not give a moment right now for all of us to do that. I'll talk about one more thing, and then we can either play with that piece or what was another one?
Bicep stand to bird, reverse back plank,
And
the baby hand to hand.
Oh, the baby hand. Okay, so let's do the baby hand next. Let's do the biceps to the reverse back plank on hands. This one we'll show a demo for.
Yeah.
All right, so we take a biceps in hands, or sorry, biceps in feet, and we're going to tuck ourselves through the base's legs, and then really showing the sacrum. We want to make sure that we go past the part where we're just showing the butt. We're going to actually turn to show all the way the sacrum. So the flyer lifts the hips even a bit more as we're coming into the reverse back plank on hands. We're going to turn 90 degrees and show that one more time, but let's reverse it in the next variation.
Reverse it from the reverse back.
Yeah, we'll go in both directions. So we'll go up and down here. All right, so the biceps in feet comes to extension. The flyer comes into a tuck, tucks through, and then lifts those hips to show the sacrum. From there, the flyer brings their arms out just a little bit wide. Base brings the feet to the insides of the biceps. Flyer comes into that tuck and then uses the force of the arms in addition to the momentum that's created at the hips to come back into the inversion. So the momentum of the hips is what helps bring it into the inversion, but that follow through and really getting that arm to get hooked around and get the extension is where we're going to get back up into that. I'm getting a thumbs up from Melissa. So why don't we take a moment and play with going from our monolimb reverse stars to monolimb shoulder stands in that box formation, and go back and forth between a biceps in feet to a reverse back plank in hands. I'm gonna just show a method that might help get a little bit more stability there or a little bit more success to get flyers into that inversion again.
You want to go down and up?
Sure. That'll be my calibration. So we're in our reverse back plank. And then some flyers are having a hard time getting back. So we're going to bring the feet in. I'm going to find some extension to the legs. I'm going to take one hand to a shin, and then I'm going to take a second hand to a shoulder. And I'm going to bend the legs and the elbow at that point to help the flyer get into that inversion. One more time. Comes through. The reverse back plank on hands. Then we take the feet to the biceps, one hand to a shin, one hand to a shoulder, and we can help that come to the inversion again. Once the inversion is there, we can release the shoulders. Make sense? All right, so for those of you that have the press, who cares? You already got it. You don't need the extra steps. But for those of you that want to build that musculature, in partnership, we can help by giving a little bit more support. As that support feels like it's not as much needed anymore, flyers, you start to lift away from that support, and then bases, you start to then taper it off, only as your flyer starts lifting away from it. Make sense? Rad, give it a shot. All right, let's take a look at reverse front plank to baby hand-to-hand.
Reverse front plank, baby hand.
That was the right one, right? Callan, that's what you asked? Yeah.
I mean, on the way back up.
Oh,
So the part that I want to look at, and you're probably going to turn 90 degrees for this one. And the thing that I want to look at is that as we're going into our baby hand-to-hand here, is what's happening with the base's ankles and toes. Often what's happening is that they're staying flat, and that makes it really difficult for the flyer to lift their legs into this inversion. And so because the base's feet are right at the center part of the flyer, there's a huge amount of gains that we can get by learning how to use our ankles as bases to help our flyers get into this position. So we take our hand-to-hand grip, and then those ankles are going to turn up to really help the flyer come into this inversion. Then we can press through the arms into our stack. Not bad, my long-legged friend.
Like that was harder than we did during sequence.
I think sometimes we go around.
Do we go around?
You want to try around? You can try around. Whether the legs go around or through
That was the difference.
will make a...
Okay, this is much easier.
Yeah, except for that I want to... Yeah, but I didn't like that one as much because Sam came into it in a pike.
Okay.
So what I want is I want the flyer to be peeling up, and I want the base to really be encouraging that peel. The scary part here is that it's going to feel like we're moving toward a head dive. And that is the part that we need to be able to mitigate and make sure that we are keeping in control. But flyers, in order to have your feet really go up well, your head's going to be coming down. So get yourself into that position, and bases, you're going to be encouraging it. And that's the scary part is that when that happens, bases are very likely to, from preservation muscle memory, we flatten our feet and we're like, oh no, don't go there. That's like your face going toward the ground. But here we're actually going to be doing the opposite. We're going to be like, all right, fine. We're going to exaggerate this, really diving toward that shape, but not so much that we kick them off of us, just enough that we get those feet into the air. One more time.
Through or
Don't care, but I do want your, I want it to be so that your legs are going up and not in that pike. There you go.
Okay, I just
That
need to
worked
stop
fine.
a little sooner then.
Yeah. Just try to make it so that your legs never get your flyer into this position. Always keep your flyer in this position. If you can keep your flyer's arms here and you use your legs to keep it so that the arms are on this side of the torso, Kayvon, what you might have to do is bend your elbows a little bit to let your flyer be here. If your arms are straight, might be why the elbows are ending up here. So you may bend a little bit, end up here. This will go right up.
Yeah, Rochelle, that's the same advice for you too. Your elbows are way behind your rib cage.
Same for you, Rochelle. Yeah, and so Moshe, that might be that you have to bend your arms a little bit to keep Rochelle's elbows on the front side of the torso. Don't let those elbows drop behind. It's not that you can't press back out of here, it's just really difficult, and most people don't press back out of here very well. So this is a much easier press.
Right. I would think that we're also having a hard time shifting the weight into the hands enough to press down into them to get off of the feet. But we'll bring in the elbows in, out, in more. help?
Maybe, but even just think about that as like your first step. The first step is going to be that, like, can we get pressure into the arms? Just moving the feet laterally over the base's head a little bit more so that we get pressure through the arms. Then find more extension. Then bases might bend the elbows a little bit to help the flyers get on the right side of the torso. So the elbows and the torso relationship doesn't have to be the first step. It can be one of the last steps. So see if you can get the pressure in sooner. What we're going to do is come into a croc on the base's arm as the base is lying down. And we're just going to find rotation. We're going to go to the second side and find rotation, and that's it. Yeah. So they're going to come in here, and even Chris uses 2 hands to really support that so that his wrist doesn't get hyperextended, which is fine to keep the entire time, or you can come to one arm. Either way, I want you to do that and then rotate the flyer over the base's hips and over the base's head. From there, go to your second side. And then either one arm or 2 arm, rotate over the hip, rotate over the head. And it's even fine to do just as Chris is, where he's testing to see what his monolimb range of motion is. And when he feels that that starts to hit its edge, he brings the second hand into support. And that's exactly the right methodology to play with. Use both hands until it feels like you can use one, and then use one hand until you need the second arm to come back in. Make sense? Excellent. This is nice and low to the ground, pretty straightforward. So let's just do one thing and look at the actual connection point and make sure that we know what that anatomically looks like. So once again, we'll take a look at on the lower part of the biceps, close to the elbow. Base is going to take the fingers on one side, thumb on the other side, and then the flyer is going to wrap around slightly with a bit of internal rotation to their own arm so that they have their thumb wrapped around to the inside of the base's arm. Cool. And then Erica and Kayvon, that's the wrong arm-hand connection. So hold the other arm with that hand. And then do it from the other side. You'd go to the inside. There you go. That's the grip. Cool. All right, give it a shot. All right, from there, we're going to play with a position that some of us are going to be familiar with and others are not going to be super familiar with. And so let's look at some of the foundations of this pose. Foundationally, the first thing that we're going to do in this pose is just look at having our hands on our sacrum hips and our elbows working toward each other, and really pressing strongly with those elbows toward each other, not letting them go wide. And that's going to be the foundation that will be balanced here. In that moment, it's really important that our front body is really tensioned strong so that we don't end up in a position where this is just spilling over the hands, but we keep it nice and taut as the weight moves into the arms. And what we're going to end up in is a triceps and hands position. In the triceps and hands position, the hand's going to be pretty high up on the triceps. We're going to want to be all the way in the deltoid triceps connection, not all the way down by the elbow, but instead we're going to be all the way up by the shoulder. I like to take a finger down the triceps line and use that finger to help balance. For those of you who remember in the early parts of your practice where you practiced like a floating triangle or a floating pashi, same kind of technique where you put that on the flyer's arms. Here, you're going to be doing just the same thing back here. Make sense? Cool. All right, so what that looks like is, I really miss my calling as Vanna White, is this position here. And then can you turn that 90 degrees?
Maybe.
So flyers are really squeezing their elbows in strong here, opening up across the front of the chest and the clavicle as much as possible. And this is a pretty stable position. And in fact, since I don't know everyone's practiced well enough yet, our first round, I just want to do this. All right? And then you can come back to front plank. So from front plank, instead of shoulder stand, you're going to bypass the shoulders, go to the back side of the deltoid triceps connection, and come into triceps and hands. This can go down right to the flyer's head really dangerously. And the thing that's going to encourage that the most is if the arms go wide. So one of the safest things that you can do in this particular pose is keeping those elbows squeezing in toward each other, flyers. If those elbows go wide in bases, it's your job to help reinforce that. And flyers, it's your job to reinforce that. Everyone has to help bring those elbows together behind the back. Either one of you, the flyer or the base, can make that go wide. So everyone needs to be in effort to not let that happen. Make sense? All right, 3, 2, 1. For this next round, we're going to do the same thing with just one modification. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to come into a position, and we're going to take one hand and we're going to release it, and we're going to bring it back. And then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. We're going to release that and bring it back. So one at a time, release, regrip, release, regrip. And it looks like this. No, I think you can actually be in your square position. So same exact pose. This time we're just seeking, do we have the stability to take one away and then the other away, which you can't see because it's foreshortened, but yep, it's happening. And do that on each side. Now there's not a significant shift that happens here. We're not looking to do a mono triceps and hands here. It is a very small shift, largely abdominal, and it's just enough to lighten the load on one side to take it off. And truth is that with enough tension, you can't even take both arms off. So the balance is not really hinged on the hand-sacrum connection. It is hinged on the amount of tension that we can put in the triceps and hands. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get from that position where we bring one arm free, and then we're going to exaggerate that and try to switch the grip from a triceps in hands to a biceps in hands. So we're going to see if we can make a full rotation in the grip on the humerus. And that's the part to really focus on here. Let's see.
Are we going to try and hang out and then pause there?
Yeah, we just won't go.
And yeah, we're not going down. I just want to see the grip switch. So here the weight does shift a bit more to the one side so that we can get to the grip here. You gotta come on down. You can see that this is not a balance that is so stable that it doesn't move. There is going to be dynamics to it. The base is going to constantly be shifting underneath the flyer to stay underneath, and the flyer needs to be able to feel where that tension is and stay on top of the base. And so flyers, here you may have to go back a little bit further than you feel is initially comfortable, and know that that's going to make more stability, even though it feels really scary.
So I'm thinking about shifting my weight a little bit over this point of support, because this is going to be Chris's stronger point of contact, especially as he's moving his hand. I don't want a bunch of weight in this arm. So I'm shifting a little bit here, but still providing tension down into that arm.
Yeah, and it's a fine line with that tension, trying to make it so that it does aid in stability, not so much that it hinders the rotation of the hand. And what Chris does a really great job of here is really pressing through the base of the wrist at the palm, or the base of the palm at the wrist, so that the fingers don't become too much of an obstacle around the circumference of the upper arm of the flyer.
Yeah, I'm actually, this elbow bend, it doesn't look the most aesthetic, but I'm bending this elbow so that I can actually get my fingers lower to the floor. If I have a straight elbow, my fingers only go so low and I'll probably get caught. But I end up bending like this so that my fingers are even pointed down more, so I have the ability to clear essentially the bicep, I think, and get to the crowd.
Yeah, y'all hear that? Good? Thumbs up if you can hear that. Excellent. Good, good, good. One more time, take a look at it. Cool. Excellent.
Can we see the starter version again?
Yeah.
Starter version.
Actually going to mess up here. So I got about 90 degrees of the 180 I need. Started off here. I got to about here. Eventually, I'll get all the way to here. And we're just going to keep working it. Every time that we attempt and we can get another few degrees of rotation around there, we're training good habits toward success. All right, so a few years ago, when I first started teaching this, Chris and Sam were just saying that the first day that they were practicing this, they had 0 successful transitions. That all it was just working on calibrating toward this. Day one was not something that they like just got. And as we're looking at all of y'all practicing, yeah, some of us are getting close and others got some work to do before we're there. And I want it to be approached with the idea that, yeah, this isn't designed to be just achieved the first time you try it. This is complicated. We're looking at really fine balances. A lot of it's happening behind the flyer's back. They can't see what's happening, and all they can feel is pressure coming into these very narrow planes. So with that, we're going to take a look at the details a little bit closer. We'll bring the camera a little closer, have a look. Is it too bright? Can you see the details? No, or is it too washed out? It's not too washed out. It looks good. All right, thumbs up is looks good. I have to learn how to communicate when it's a nonverbal in-two-direction conversation. So we'll take a look at the details of that, and then we're going to take a look at the next piece, which will be completing this rotation. So the grip on the hand is in our triceps position. As that shifts to one side, the flyer brings one arm out, base bends the elbow and grips around to the...
Oh, I thought we were going...
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're just
You're doing everything correct. They're nervous because I throw things at them like rocks when they do things wrong, but they're very nervous. So. No, it's okay. Y'all are doing great. So we take a look at the grip, and then this will transition to a croc now. Danielle, Jay, was that more apparent? Were you able to see that grip, Danielle?
Well, she's talking about
Excellent.
this grip, I think, right? So
No, she gave a thumbs up.
Oh, may I add something to her comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, Danielle, the grip, if you come into just like forward fold a little bit, it doesn't matter so much where exactly the grip is. This doesn't have to be that precise. You could even theoretically do it at a mono shoulder stand. The reason why this is arguably easier is because you're already closer to the new connection point. If I were to start here, I just have that much farther to go. So this is just, if this is stable, then this is a shorter distance. But if this is more stable, I mean, I know this is not tricep enhanced, but it still teaches a lot of the same principles, and that if you can balance stably through this as you're transitioning through this, then this is probably going to be a good progression for learning this maneuver. There's been a lot of attention paid to, this hand transition and this elbow bending and these fingers coming down, but really this is the primary point of support. So if this is unstable, there's no way that this, no matter how adept, is actually going to get there, because this needs to be what's concentrated on as this is transitioning to the new connection point. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. We're finding it wiggly.
It's wiggly.
Yeah, and one of the things that that was also observed that Chris was talking about was that there's a good amount of stability that seems to be happening in the base's arms, the flyer's arms, and even in the flyer's shoulders and torso. But the lower half of the flyer's bodies in the inversions are moving around quite a bit, which makes it very difficult to stay in balance underneath it. So flyers, see what you can do to really get the abdominals engaged strong, your glutes and your legs, and all of your toes pointing nice and strong. I don't care the shape that you're making with your legs. I do care that they're not moving. Jay, I'm with you. What you got?
Yeah, we're also noticing a lot of like drifting, even in like the one shoulder stand from like over my head too far one way, too far the other way. Is there anything in particular, or is that just not finding and locking on for the right stack?
Yeah, it's the last thing you said. And if you're going over in one attempt and under in the other attempt, you're doing it right. If as long as you're not always going in one direction, you can start to find balance. If you overbalance and underbalance, balance exists in the space between those two. So keep playing with that. And then yeah, flyers, fix those legs, get it so that they're not moving so much. You'll find a lot more success. Callan, what you got?
You may have already answered this, but Flyer, as you release this arm, is it the tension down or is it at all a lift so the base can like lift or like get under there? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm providing tension down. Actually, the way that the rotation happens is coming from Chris pulling his fingers back and bending his arm. I'm not trying to lift off. By creating the tension, we have balance and stability there. I don't want to overpower, but I'm like meeting his tension.
Yep. Yeah. And even meeting tension might be like 95% of tension. You want to maintain that there is tension, but you don't want to be lifting away. We don't want to break it. It is stabilizing the balance. And that said, you got a full mono triceps in hands, then fine, go free and just bring that arm down into the croc. You're great. Any other questions? All right, thumbs up if you need to see it one more time. All right, we got a thumbs up. Let's take a look at it one more time. We're gonna go from the triceps all the way to the croc. So we go triceps in hands, flyer brings the arm out, base scoops underneath, gets there. Flyer then does the rotation onto their own arm, lowering down, base maintains extension the entire time. Makes sense, right? Any other questions? Yeah, John Layla.
Can you do the version where you don't come down into the croc again?
Yes.
With the base's rotation or without?
Where the base is still going to do the rotation around the arm, yes? Yeah. And y'all are welcome to go practice as you're ready. For those of you that want, please stay and watch. But you're welcome to go practice. And it's difficult to just be in that position.
It's hard to hold.
Yeah, we're not looking to like belabor that too much. We just want to look at that as a method to not Hail Mary ourselves into a croc, destroying our base's wrist. Matt and Athena, what you got?
So Sam and Chris, Sam, your body's turning towards the bicep as it becomes available. Who's driving that rotation?
Okay, so before we come to the croc, I'm sticking my arm out to the side and letting Chris do everything. Once we make the connection, then
before that. So what's happening is it is a bit of the nature of how the arms are moving, right? We got one arm behind and we got one arm that's coming off to the side. And what's happening is that the base, because they're in one arm and they're reaching with the other, this is naturally opening up toward that arm already.
Yeah.
And that's what he means is that you're rotating even before you're thinking of lowering.
But I don't do that rotation. That's coming from Chris.
I am doing some rotation with this because I'm listening to what her shoulder is doing, because we struggled with this a little last week when we were prepping it. It's possible to be a little tough on the flyer's shoulder if the base like, I want your croc arm here now. We don't want to do that. We want to listen to what their shoulder is doing. And where she's strong, I allow her to kind of rotate herself in my hands. I allow my hand to rotate with her. Like if she's oaring her arm out this way, I allow my rotation in the mono shoulder stand to let that rotate, which is my hand here.
Yeah. And then when we actually do the lower, then it's sort of co-created, and that has to be kind of a timing-based thing.
Right.
We don't outpace each other there.
Cool.
Cool. All right, give it your attempts. We only have a few minutes left. So the way we wrap these things up are relatively routine with a few things. Number one is the idea of a class having challenge in it and something that we haven't been able to achieve yet. from my perspective, is an ideal class. We've had some things that we were very successful in, some things that felt really good, and then some things that were like, not there yet. So great, we have things that we've reinforced and things that we will continue to develop and cultivate. More than everything, it's been phenomenal to watch the smiles, because I can't hear the breaths and we can't hear the communications and the really nice conversations that you're having with each other that says, oh, that's okay, I'll get stronger next week, instead of, you motherfucker, why aren't you staying underneath me? And God, I told you to press and extend. I know none of those conversations are happening. They're all the nice ones, and everyone is speaking so nice to each other, because you come down and I see these smiles, and they look, from my perspective, like that is winning in Acro, is you're coming down and you're enjoying this process of being physical, being together, getting stronger, getting smarter, and staying connected. Thank you so much all for supporting this, for being here. The way the news is shaping up, we got at least 2 months of this ahead of us. So I'm gonna be here each week. I'm gonna continue doing this. I would love to see you all here each week, and over the next few months, or who knows, maybe longer, we'll continue to cultivate our practice and get stronger and continue to work on puzzles and see if we can solve them in ways that are interesting and fun and getting us stronger. Throughout the week, I will be with you in a second. Throughout the week, if there are questions that you have, or if you're practicing, throw a video camera on you and send us a video. We're happy to take a look at it and give you diagnosis, give you pointers that will help prepare you for next week's class. So that's an open invitation. Anything that's going on with your practice that you would like some help with. And then, Erica, what you got?
Will you keep doing this even after the quarantine? It's such a
I
fun
feel
practice.
I feel like I might. I've been fantasizing about the idea of continuing this indefinitely, where when I get back into a physical classroom, I'll bring this into the classroom with me. My focus will not be so much on you during your practice at that point, because I'll have a classroom, but maybe, who knows, maybe there's someone that will help monitor the video system and give diagnosis to the people that are all over the world that are practicing. But I would like to extend this. I feel like we have this opportunity to look at how technology can really unify us even over greater distances. So I do have fantasies of letting this being a permanent installation in my classrooms. Yeah, thanks for the encouragement. Chris, did you have something also? No? No? All right, cool. As always, take a moment. For those of you that were fortunate enough, thank your spotters. Oh, none of you? Okay, cool.
Thank your couches.
Well then, at least, yeah, thank your couches. Layla, you get to at least thank your couch. I saw, I mean, you came down safely, but you still, it was nice to have a couch to land on. But take a moment, thank your bases, thank your flyers.
Hi, Kat.
Thank you, flyer. Thank you, base, even though I didn't actually fly on you, so
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you,
we
base.
got it. Yeah, we
It's
got
still
it.
nice.